Sisters overload, why on earth am I putting on a jacket at this time of the night? Well, I don't know too, but maybe it is because Sir Jim Ratcliffe today showed face at Carrington. I'll tell you about that. There is a lot of news concerning Manchester United. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's contract has been extended by 12 months. Manchester United want to go into new talks with him to extend his stay and give him a new contract. We'll talk about that in a bit. Guess what? Andre Onana is watching you, and whatever your people are trying to cook, you're trying to get rid of Onana. He's watching you, and guess what? Andre Onana is not going to the AFCON, at least for now, not yet. Apparently, he's going to play for Manchester United on the 14th, and the next day will be in between the sticks for Cameroon. I'll tell you how on earth that is even practically possible. But with Manchester United, nothing is impossible. A lot of transfer talk today. I've told you, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, his first day at Carrington, meeting Eric Ten Hag, meeting the players, meeting everyone, the players, the staff of Man United. It's day one, and that's why I'm putting on a jacket. You might wonder, why on earth is Webb sat in his bedroom putting on a jacket at 10 p.m. in the night? Well, it's because it's Sir Jim's day, and this guy is a boss. So obviously, I've got to dress like a boss. Welcome aboard. There is a lot of Man United news. Onana is not going nowhere. He's still stuck with us. Question is, did we sign an amputated goalkeeper for £4.3 million in Altel Bayindil? Why on earth is Onana still being forced to stay even when the AFCON is looming? I will talk about that in a bit. Meanwhile, so many players, guys. I've got a long list of players, transfers we are going to talk about. Some you might have heard of, some you might not have. We will talk about those as well. But the big one, the best news, it's on the pitch. I told you, full squad in Jan. And indeed, Casemiro and Lisandro Martinez are both back in training, on grass, full training with Manchester United. That means they could be available for Wigan in the FA Cup. I don't care so much about that. Most importantly, for Tottenham Hotspurs. Guys, what a day, what a time to be a Manchester United supporter. Where are you watching from? Go into the comment section, drop it there. If you do want to make a call, you want your voice to be heard, the number is down there on your screen. You can call me up and let's talk Manchester United, because it's been a busy day at Carrington today. So busy, it's even hot. I'm not sure by the end of this show I will have this jacket on, because trust you me, the talk, the heat from the lights everywhere is about to get intense. But trust you me, I've got it under control. I'll start off with the latest that has just dropped today. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's contract has been extended by 12 months. So they have triggered a contract extension in his contract that was running out at the end of the season. Alfred Sendue saying Onana is scared of losing his place. If it were you, let's be honest, if it were you, what would you do? Certainly, you would be scared. But here's the thing. So Andre Onana, since Alfred Sendue has started with that, let me start with Andre Onana. I'm sure he's the one exciting you the most. So here's the thing. So Andre Onana has apparently pushed Manchester United to pick up the call and call the Cameroonian Football Federation and talk to them, begging them to let him stay at Manchester United and join them the day of the match, because here's the plan. So Andre Onana and United have agreed. Probably he's going to get a private jet. He's going to travel like a boss. I think the jet will be waiting for him outside Old Trafford. I think there should be Sir Jim Ratcliffe's helipad or whatever. They put his jet, it will be waiting for him there. Maybe it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe's jet that will take him itself. So the plan is for Andre Onana to play against Tottenham Hotspurs on the 14th of this month of January. Then the next day, Cameroon takes on Guinea. He will be there. That's the promise. How practical is that? Tell me about it. Jesus Christ, goodness gracious me. What exactly is going on at Manchester United and the goalkeeping department? Is there a mess we don't know? Could we have signed an amputated goalkeeper? Altel Bayindil, why on earth isn't he trusted? You don't sign a backup goalkeeper for £4.3 million and you can't trust him to play just a few games. A few games, that's a bad sign. It looks extremely ugly on Manchester United. But is it a good thing, though, for Manchester United? Maybe. I think the reality is, right now, the situation United is in, and guys, I will understand. I told you yesterday that the young boy, Amad Diallo, did confirm he's not going to play for Cameroon. Remember, for Ivory Coast, he's not going to go to the AFCON, to Ivory Coast. Remember, Ivory Coast are the hosts of this tournament. He's not going. Why? When there is a new boss in town, when there is a new man in charge of football matters at the club, You don't want to tell them about you playing for your country. I'm African. I'm playing for Africa. This man means business. Sir Jim Ratcliffe did not pay 1.3 billion pounds for you to go and play at the AFCON, to come out of your retirement to go and play at the AFCON. He wants results. So to be honest, I don't blame Andrew Onana, and I think this is the African spirit in him working smart, telling him, bro, be smart, be smart. You know you're struggling for your position. You can't afford to leave and let this Turkish guy come and take your place. I think he has seen how good he is in training. But for me, again, that shows you that maybe Andrew Onana also knows he's perhaps got a lot to do to try and salvage his time at Manchester United. So that's the situation with Onana. We'll talk about it at length. I'll also talk about the full squad and how Manchester United should look with the full squad. How exactly are we going to look with Lisandro Martinez back fit, with Casemiro back in? Is this a title contending team? I promised you yesterday we'll talk about why I strongly think that with all players fit, we should be demanding for top three from Eric Ten Hag. It's not too late. We'll talk about that. But let's go back. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe today was at Carrington for the first time. He met the manager Eric Ten Hag. He met the players. He met the staff of Manchester United, and it was good. And the same day coincided with reports that came out and suggested that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has pinpointed his first preferred signing. This boy from Crystal Palace, Olise, and these are his stats. This boy came from injury in November, has scored 5 goals already, and in 9 matches, assisted once. He's a winger. He plays like Riyad Mahrez. For me, I look at him and I say Mahrez. So this is the boy that apparently Sir Jim Ratcliffe is looking at to make his first signing as the man in charge of football at Manchester United. And his buyout clause with Crystal Palace is quite interesting. It's believed to be around 60 million or thereabout, because the last time before he extended his contract, when Chelsea wanted him and he said he doesn't want to go to Chelsea, his buyout, he renegotiated his contract with Crystal Palace and has now a buyout clause of over 60 million. So it is said that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants Michael Olise. He's born in England but played for France at a younger age. He's only 22. He wants him as his first signing, most likely in the summer. Obviously not in January. We don't have that money to spend. But I'll tell you later why I think that's a crazy need. It's not a player we need. Who needs to spend 60 million on a Michael Olise when you've got Mason Greenwood playing in the same position? He's a winger. We'll talk about him as well. So Carrington was buzzing today with the arrival of the new boss in town. Then also some more news, of course, coming through from Manchester United today. I've told you about the Onana situation and how he's saying he's not going to the AFCON. Realistically, for me, that's him pointing back and saying, guys, you know what, I'm really not good enough. I've got to work hard. So he might even turn down. I think for a fact that I won't be surprised later if Andrew Onana comes out and says he's not going to the AFCON, eventually saying, you know what, I'm not going. I'm staying here to fight for my job. Now, still talking news, there's a lot of transfer talk with Manchester United. A lot of it. I don't even know where to start. There's a lot of transfer talk with Manchester United. There's a new boy we're being linked with. He doesn't excite me so much, to be honest. This boy is called Javi Huera. He plays for Valencia. He's a midfielder. He's Spanish, plays for the Spanish under-21. He does not really move me that much, really. He does not really excite me. He seems to be, yes, he's a hard worker. He figures his game is not smooth and natural. But United has been linked with him. So many players were linked with, and we'll talk about him and whether he's the player we will be getting in this January. Jadon Sancho's situation is almost done. Very soon, it could be a here we go. Sancho back to Borussia Dortmund. He has already agreed terms with the club. It is now club-to-club talks going on. Man United trying to agree on a structure. It is believed that actually Manchester United are planning to include a player they could want. That is Donny Malik. We've been linked to this guy, Donny Malik. He's mostly a winger. He's not even a number 9. I don't know why Manchester United is so focused on buying a player who can play in the right wing. And I know Anthony has failed. But if we've got Diallo promising and we've got Mason Greenwood, why on earth are we talking about loaning Sancho, which is okay? We want to loan him back, let him go back and play football at Dortmund. But the negotiation apparently is to involve Donny Malik, who United want to bring in as a forward. Now, Donny Malik plays mostly from the right. I think he's not a natural number 9. He plays mostly as a winger. Michael Olise, who Jim Ratcliffe could want to be his first signing, plays as an inverted winger as well. He's left-footed, flies in from the right. You will have players like Amad Diallo. We've got Mason Greenwood is our player. Why on earth are we so fascinated about this position? Yet we've got arguably the best winger in global football today. For me, these are the decisions that I think are going to show us whether Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the right man or not. On earth are you taking care of what you have before you think about anything new? For me, that's the question. How on earth we've got Mason Greenwood, arguably the hottest right winger in global football right now. He's our player, but because of the fearing the unknown, this is proper fearing the unknown. We do not know what will happen if Greenwood returns. The only way we would know is if he actually came back. So Man United is going all over looking at a player who is going to be overpriced. And are we solving problems for Mr. Jim? We are watching you. We are watching you. Today was your day one at Carrington, but we are watching every step you're making because for me, I've got reservations about the reports we are getting through from Manchester United. So many transfers to talk about. And I will continue. So that's the new boy we are linked with, Guerra. And guys, I'm telling you, there is so much news. That's why I first want to wrap it up for you before I focus on the whole squad and what exactly, because that is what matters most. I need to get you an image of Harvey Guerra, and you see how he looks, and whether you see whether he's a slay king or a proper footballer. That's the boy. So he's a hard worker. He plays for Valencia. He's only 20, promising, and he fights for the ball and all, but he's not smooth. His game is not smooth. I think we as supporters of Manchester United need some smooth players, the Paul Scholes of this world, the Michael Carrick of this world. We don't need mechanics, the way we call them. I need to see him more to be sure that he would be a good player for us. Timo Werner as well is still linked with Manchester United, and according to what we did, reports are that the relationship between him and RB Leipzig is so bad, perhaps irreparable. It cannot be repaired. He does want out of RB Leipzig. He says he's not happy there. He has only been restricted to 4 games, 4 starts this season. He has fallen out with the club, so he just wants an opportunity out of RB Leipzig. And Man United is seeming to be the club willing to offer that to him. But Timo Werner to United, is it the Werner we want? Wouldn't we have wanted him back then when he was still playing football? Again, that's out there for the jury to decide. So a bit of so much going on with United. So I told you about Sancho and how United are still in talks with Borussia Dortmund to try and agree on a structure for his loan deal for him to go back on loan. Borussia Dortmund are willing to pay, I think, a third of his wages. He's earning £350,000 per week. Crazy money. We are trying to trim down this wage. So Dortmund are saying, we are going to take you back and pay a significant part of this money. United has got to pay some. But United are still holding on to ensure they get some money as well. United wants some bit of the cash. I mean, we paid them £72 million. We certainly want to get a bit of that cash. I promised you guys that it would get hot. And trust me, I might lose this jacket very soon. More sooner than later. I might lose this jacket. I do remind you to do subscribe to the Hotspot in case you're joining us for the first time. We are here every day at exactly 10 p.m. to talk Manchester United. This channel is for the return of Mason Greenwood to Manchester United. We've been linked to Michael Olise, and I've been here saying it for those who are just joining us, that who needs Michael Olise when you've got Mason Greenwood? This channel is for Greenwood back. Greenwood back. That's what we are for. You can let me know if you're with us. But again, let's continue now and talk about, I think, the sweeter news. I don't want to go back into the Choupo-Moting links and Timo Werner and all these players we are being linked with. We are becoming a one-stop center for all players out of football who are trying to find their closest, their route to Saudi Arabia. I don't want to dwell on those players who are not really so good and so important. But United is in talks with players right now, and it has been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano that Aaron Wan-Bissaka's contract has been extended. We've triggered the 12-month extension, and we want to talk to him and even increase his terms at United and let him stay longer. The reality is Wan-Bissaka has worked for everything. In fact, he's one of the nominees for Player of the Season for Manchester United on the website. If you go to the website, they have listed Bruno Fernandes. I think they have. I think some pundits on Man United who did vote Bruno Fernandes and Aaron Wan-Bissaka as 2 of the best players for United me, how many games you played, it's about the impact you've made. The best player playing at United was Kobe Maino. The best Man United player of overall United, paid by United, was Mason Greenwood for me. So Wan-Bissaka, though, I think was important when he was there. When he was fit, he proved to be important in certain games, and definitely it does make sense, emerging as one of the guys people are looking at as a player there. So he has been rewarded with a contract extension triggered, and that's a good thing. It shows you he's an important player, and maybe now he will focus on fighting and ensuring that Diogo Dalot does not start ahead of him. I honestly don't enjoy seeing Dalot start ahead of Wan-Bissaka, seeing where Wan-Bissaka reached in his time at Manchester United. I feel we do need to see him do better, and I felt like he's not so far from being world class. If he works hard and stays fit, Wan-Bissaka can be world class. He can be world class. He's not yet, but he can be. And where we are headed, Manchester United needs world class players. Now, speaking of world class players, two of those who have been out, one on the 20th of September against Bayern, that is Casemiro, and the other on the 1st of November in the Carabao Cup against Newcastle, Lisandro Martinez, have been out, but both of them are back training on grass with Manchester United now. Question is, how much do these two boost the squad? Remember, Eric Ten Hag promised a full squad, and he said, when I do have my full squad, you should demand for results. Now, we are about to demand for results, but what is the realistic expectation we should have of this squad? The reality for me is, guys, I've taken time to study this league and study the teams ahead of us and study whatever is going on. And I actually think Manchester United right now is in a very good position for us to push for top three. In fact, I said it at the start of the season that success for Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag this season would be us finishing above where we finished last season. Third, okay, we are third. If we finish third, that wouldn't be the worst. But finishing second, I don't want to talk about winning it because I didn't think we should be putting that. But success for me would be we could properly finish above. But of course, we had a disorganization, we had changes, new players who struggled. What up to now, certain players and have not yet, cut it. But you think about the other teams we are competing with, from Man City to Arsenal to Liverpool. All these teams are not as solid. I keep saying it that if this Manchester City won the Premier League title, I think this would be the worst Manchester City to win a Premier League title. I think in open era. This would be the worst Man City, not even the Pellegrini or which was the worst Man City you can think about. This would be the worst Man City to win it. I don't think it would be a deserved one, because we've seen much better Man Cities that clearly deserve to win this league. For Arsenal will always entertain. I think for them, their game is about entertaining. They will always entertain, play a good game, but you see, winning titles is beyond putting a few good passes together and entertaining people. Arsenal, for me, has not. I think the last Arsenal that felt like they could win a title was the one that last won it back then with Arsene Wenger. So Arsenal is beatable, and we've proven in the past games. Aston Villa already will find their position. West Ham, they will find their levels. The Spurs already found their levels. So Liverpool is good, but this Liverpool again is not good enough, not even close to the Liverpool that won this league and the Champions League. They are good, but they are beatable. They have got loopholes in them. So I look at this Man United squad and I'm thinking, you've got Andrew Onana trying to fight and improve consistently, and I like that he's trying to fight for his place. Then you've got a backline that has got Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane firing on all cylinders if they are fit. Martinez obviously is back now and he will be fit for some time. All other factors constant. Then Varane, who we know when he's fit is a beast, but even if Varane is not there, so long as we've got Johnny Evans in there, we have Harry Maguire looking improved, we've got Victor Lin's got a contract extension as well. You've got a solid backline that has Kobe Maino and now Casemiro back next to him, because I'm imagining Eric Ten Hag is going to go back to playing. He's going to play a double pivot, or even if it's a single pivot, he will still have Casemiro playing slightly ahead of Kobe Maino. So you think about all those players. Then you've got Bruno in the middle. Then Eriksen, spoiled for choice. That's depth in the squad. Then you go up front. You've got Marcus Rashford trying to step up his game because Garnacho is giving him a proper run for his money. You've got Amad Diallo. You've got Rasmus Højlund, who scored his first Premier League goal. He's in the mood. Man, I'm thinking this United can actually push for this title. Guys, I said it. Tell me why you think this United cannot push for the title. We are just, what is it, 14 points off the top, but those are so few. Those are very little points. Senoga Ramazan is saying, give me transfers for United. Just, I think you've just joined. Stay around for a minute. I'm going to give you those, obviously. Senoga Ramazan is saying, good evening, brother. How are you doing? That sounds like a Ugandan name. You should be in Uganda. How is it going, Senoga? Ugambotia, Uganda. Well, so for me, I think this squad, if we only could just find a way of adding Mason Greenwood into this squad, we would be proper title contenders given the season. Not because we are so good compared to the rest, because we are in a better place. Our injuries are behind us. All our players are coming back. The final end of the season. While for the other clubs we are competing with, they are going to start feeling the pinch of injuries now, because it has to happen. It's not we are not a jinx. Okay, maybe some say we're a jinxed club, but these injuries do not come at you in isolation. These other clubs will also get injuries. Depend on the depth they have. I don't think a team like Arsenal, for example, has got too much depth. I don't think Manchester City has got too much depth compared with what we used to them. They have always had, I think, 3 first 11s, potential first 11s. This time, this Manchester City is so weak. So for me, I think actually Man United fan out there, I think Manchester United has got every chance to compete for this title with all our players fully fit. And because we are going to have key world-class players in all departments, Alejandro Garnacho is becoming world-class by the day. The midfield is going to be full of world-class players, from Bruno to Christian Eriksen to Casemiro and Kobe Maino. The boy is world-class. He's 18, but he's world-class. He's way above everyone else already. Then you think about our backline. You've got Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane. You just need those. Those are enough in all departments. That's enough leadership, enough character, enough pedigree, enough profile. Trust me, player per player, position per position, this Manchester United can give any team a run for their money. So for me, I'm so positive, and that's why I'm saying in this January, whereas we are linked to so many players, I do just want us to make smart additions to the squad. We'll talk about Todibo. I don't think we need to rush and get Todibo and disorganize Niche. Niche are now our what? They are our sisters in no, not sisters in crime. What's the word? They are our sisters by osmosis. Yes, Nisha, our sisters by osmosis, or brothers if you want, because it's a man's game. They are our brothers by osmosis because we've got the same co-owner. So for me, I actually strongly believe that Manchester United can push for the title even without rushing into signings, because if anything, these signings in Jan could actually just disorganize us. That's what I think. So you can let me know what you think. So Senoga asked about transfers. So let me just sum up for you the transfer talks surrounding Manchester United, but not before I speak to Peter Wakabi. That's a great idea for him, but things haven't been so good for United, and I have almost lost interest in my club, Webman. Oh, let me sip to that, man. Why on earth would you lose interest in your club? You're not a true fan, man. Peter Wakabi, you're not a true fan. Let me even first take a sip before I come back to you. Peter, Peter, you're not a true fan. How on earth do you lose interest in your club? All the way from Qatar, Doha. Oh, what's happening, Peter Wakabi in Qatar? What's going on? Are you still enjoying? Are you also enjoying the Qatar money? I hope you're working smart. Qatar money is there in football. I hope you're also working smart and trying to tap into it. But let me just answer Senoga Ramazan here, who asked about transfers. And each transfer I drop at you, I'm going to give you an image for you to understand that I'm serious. Let me start with the latest in case you're just joining us. So that guy called Michael Olise, he's 22 years of age. He's born in England, but he has represented France at the junior ranks. So he is a Crystal Palace player, but he's been linked to Manchester United. Remember, before, in the last summer, he was linked to Chelsea. It looked like he was going to go to Chelsea. He turned down and actually extended his start at Crystal Palace. He got injured, but he returned in November and has since scored 5 goals in 7 starts, including 4 goals in the last 5 games. But he's a winger. He's a forward, plays from the left. Look at him the way you would look at Riyad Mahrez. If you watch Riyad Mahrez play for Man City, that's exactly how this guy plays. For me, I find them extremely identical. But for me, I have no doubt about his abilities. He's a good player, and it is said he's the first player that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to sign. And I have no doubt about his abilities, but also I know that Sir Jim is putting together a strong team, which perhaps already is in place. I know that Paul Mitchell and apparently Dan Ashworth, now it's going to be an unprecedented, new way of management. Apparently, Sir Dave Brailsford and Sir Jim Ratcliffe sat down and thought they should bring in 2 directors of football. Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell. Now, for me, isn't this a case of too many chefs spoiling the food? Anyway, let me go back to this transfer talk. We'll get to Sajim and his team. Guys, I've told you there's so much news. There is so much. I don't even know. I'm going to put it together for you. Just stick here, subscribe, become a member. We'll talk about it bit by bit, by bit, by bit, by bit. And tomorrow, the next, we are here live every day at exactly 10 p.m. So don't you worry. We'll talk about all these guys bit by bit by bit by bit. So going back to Michael Olise. So he's a good player. I've got no doubts about him. He's a good player. And I've just told you I've likened him to Riyad Mahrez. If a player is likened to Riyad Mahrez, Mahrez was an important player for Man City. But for me, the thing is, if you've got Amad Diallo, I don't see so much difference between him and Diallo. The only difference is he's more he's tested, approved, and trusted. He's more proven than Diallo. But if you've got Diallo, who is emerging and exciting fans the way he did, you've got Mason Greenwood. He's your player and he's on loan. I think Mason Greenwood is a better player than this boy. Why on earth would you want to spend over 60 million? Because it is believed that his new buyout clause in his contract that he extended last year with Chelsea is worth about 60 million pounds. Before, his contract was about 30 million. It is believed that now it is not really yet. They have not yet revealed how much, but it is believed, of course, before, if it was about 30 million pounds, right now it should be double. He extended his contract by 4 years. So you can imagine, should we be spending 60 million on a winger? Yes, we have a problem to solve in the wing, but should we be spending 60 million when we have a promising Amad Diallo and Mason Greenwood as our player? Shouldn't we rather let us first give Diallo time as we wait and see the end of the season and bring back Greenwood and see what happens when we bring back Greenwood? For me, I will still insist we can't be Manchester United and we fear the unknown. We cannot fear to bring back our own academy player because of the unknown. For me, that's why, whereas I like Michael Olise, I think he's a decent player, I don't like the idea of bringing him because of the position he plays and us having Mason Greenwood and Amad Diallo. That's blocking your own. Let's first give chance to our own. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe has made it clear. His approach is, instead of dwelling on buying and signing players because the money has been there and it hasn't worked for years, you would rather go trust the young players and develop them. They don't even demand for a lot of money. It's a better approach. So for me, I don't think for me this would be a good start. The best start is, if you're going to trust your own academy players, bring back your best academic player in Mason Greenwood. That should be the first thing you do. For me, that's my honest opinion. So that's one transfer. That is to you, Senoga Ramazan. Moving on, there are many. I hope you have the time, bro. I've the time. I hope you do have the time for all these transfers. So besides him, there is, of course, this boy, Javi Guerra. Javi Guerra plays for for Valencia. He's Spanish. He's only 20. He's a midfielder. He's a new, subtle link we had. He emerged today. He has not been really top of our list, but he's emerging today. And Man United, remember, is looking to the youngsters. We are looking to young players who are upcoming. The reason you hear these players is because the approach for Sajim and team is not to go for the already made. We want to get young players and give them time to nurture them. Keep the old players. I watched an interview of Sir Dave Brailsford and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and this is what he was saying. They want to focus more on the young players, but keep a few senior players, but try to ensure that the senior players maintain their level while the young players learn from them to improve. So that's the balance to strike with Sir Dave Brailsford. Now, it sounds nice to the ears, but practically, it's not easy. That's why these people are contemplating bringing two directors of football. I don't think that has ever happened anywhere in football. You bring two marquee, Paul Mitchell, what he did with Southampton and what have you. Then you bring Dan Ashworth, the Newcastle guy. You're thinking, isn't this too much? So that's how desperate, that's how bad our situation has been, guys. So that's the other boy we're being linked with. Then we're also being linked with Timo Werner, coming from on loan as a short fix because we need a backup striker for Rasmus Højlund. I think for me, I'm for Sahu Girassi. Girassi is another player we are linked with. So Werner wants out of, he wants to leave RB Leipzig. The club has well confirmed today that they have sanctioned the loan move. By the way, Werner might be edging in because they didn't mention to which team, but we know that Man United is the team that has been interested in him. So it is said that RB Leipzig sanctioned, today it was revealed that RB Leipzig sanctioned the loan move for Timo Werner. But to where? they didn't mention. So that's another transfer speculation going on, but that might be imminent. That Timo Werner to United might be here we go anytime soon. Watch the space. Then Jadon Sancho, of course, I told you about Choupo-Moting. I don't want to list these players. Choupo-Moting and Thomas Muller. They are both 34, both Bayern Munich players. Thomas Muller is a legend at Bayern and in Germany. For Choupo-Moting, is a reject, I would say, not a legend. Why on earth, even if we have issues and we are desperate, in a new time when we are all excited about which new players we can bring in, how on earth are we talking about Choupo-Moting? I don't even want to put his image there because, and I have it. Don't think I don't have it. I have it, but I won't put it there. This Choupo-Moting, thing because it doesn't make sense. So, but in terms of signing players, guys, the situation with Manchester United, this is what we need to understand, accept, and appreciate. Manchester United is still in a sell to buy situation. If you remember, in the last summer transfer window, where we should have spent money, and we looked like we had money because we had money to waste. If we are buying Mason Mount as our first signing for 65 million, obviously we had money to waste. And indeed, we wasted it. And these are the things that Sajim is trying to fix. But if we go by that, clearly we do not have any money because you remember how we struggled to even raise the 10 million pounds we paid for the loan of Sofian Amrabat, which eventually, I will talk about that maybe in the coming weeks. I don't think Amrabat is good enough. I don't think he has warranted a permanent start United. But going back to this whole thing, I think for me, we are in a proper sell to buy situation. For us to think about buying any player, we've got to sell because right now, I think in our budget, we don't have, because remember, Sofian Amrabat's permanent move was supposed to cost us about 20. We have an obligation to buy him for about 21 million pounds, but we didn't have that money. We paid 10 million for his loan. We didn't have that money. We couldn't have raised it from where? Because we did not sell any players. So if we probably have less than 9 million pounds to spend in January, probably less than that. So if we are going to sell to buy any player, we've got to sell, and that's why we're talking of players. Rafael Varane, we want to corner him, either come and agree on reduced terms and stay, or we sell him. We raise some money to buy players, important players, younger players we need. Anthony Martial is the other player who, obviously, they talk about an illness and what, unless he's in the IC and they're not telling us, but we would know. But Anthony Martial will not play football again for United. I think he will be sold. For how much? That we can debate, but I don't think we would care. The most realistically we would get for Anthony Martial would be about 20 million. So if you add the 9 or 10 we could be having on our accounts, that would be like 20 million pounds. Now, which other player? The other player I think we should have sold time ago when we had the chance was Scott McTominay. Probably Eric Ten Hag's thing was, you know what, this Scott McTominay has got a character of a player who can be bought. His age is a bit prime and what. That's why he kept playing him and playing him and playing him so that he raises his value. So, and in the transfer window, he can sell him for some decent money and use that money to try. Because right now, money is math. We are playing, it's an economical game now we are playing. So maybe the reason, and I was trying to understand what Eric Ten Hag saw in Scott McTominay that we didn't see. Maybe he was trying to play him and raise his value so that when you come to a transfer window, a club in Saudi can come and give us 40, 50 million for Scott McTominay because there is a ready market there. But our players are not even good enough to attract a flatter from Saudi. So the situation we are in is difficult, and that's why these transfer speculations we can talk about, but the reality is we do not have money unless we sell. And players today are so expensive that we've got to raise decent, reasonable amounts of money for us to be able to sign reasonable players. That's why most of these young players we're being linked with, unless they are players like Sahu Girassi, who is not young, he's 27, but players who are cheap. But most of the other young players we are being linked with are expensive. We can't afford them unless we sell players, and we can maybe only sell players in the summer. But also you think about which players we can sell in the summer, and you're thinking, who can be bought? For example, if you are the buyer, which player in Man United would you buy for 50 million pounds now? Tell me, which player in Manchester United would you buy for 50 million pounds right now? But remember, most of our players who we want out, like Anthony, are on big contracts earning crazy wages. They wouldn't accept. Anthony will not say, let me come, you sell me to any club, I want to play football, and they cut down on his what? I think Anthony is earning what, £250,000 per week. So you can imagine the tight situation we are in, and this is the smartness. High. That is why Sir Jim Ratcliffe is putting. I don't know whether he really understands what he's getting himself into, but he's putting heads together to solve the Man United problem, guys. The reality is, and this is not to discourage Peter Wakabi even more, but the reality is Manchester United has been fallen in a ditch too deep that it will take a lot for us to be dug out of it. So that's why we've got to be patient. And I keep telling people, we might all have wanted Jassim and all, but he's not here. We need to back Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because at least the beauty is he's a fan of the club. He's the fan of the club. So he knows, he has been watching. I was watching his interviews, and genuinely, from way back, he was saying this club is not about the money. They have the money. They don't even want to sell, but they are afraid to manage the football. So he's here to try and help the football. I don't think, in all honesty, that Sir Jim is into this for the money, because then he wouldn't be taking the burden of football and what, because he knows it's a mess. He's genuinely trying to perhaps leave a legacy for himself, because the reality is the problem at Manchester United needed someone who has got a certain affection and love for the club to be solved. I think it does. Please talk about Mount and his positioning in the team. This is Alfred Sendwe. Now, let me tell you about Mount and his positioning. I think I'll need to lose my... It's getting hot in here, and this Mount conversation is obviously going to be hot. So let me lose this jacket. I'm in my bedroom anyway. So you're asking me to talk about Mason Mount. Mason Mount, first of all, when he was being signed by Manchester United, I said it here. You can go back in videos. I think it was a live. I don't know. And I said, guys, what problem is Mason Mount solving for Manchester United? Because by the time we went into the summer transfer window, we had a lot of problems to solve, a lot of problems in different departments. But for Eric Ten Hag to go for Mount first, I was asking myself, what exact problem is Mount solving for Manchester United in these desperate moments we are in? But he was Eric Ten Hag's first preferred signing. He's back also training. And for me, Mount, for as long as Bruno is there, Mount will not play football at United. And all players will be back fit, and even the competition is getting worse. Even when most of our players were injured, even when we were struggling, Mount was a little bit like Sergio Reguilon. He failed to establish himself as a starter at Manchester United. This is a player we signed in the last summer for 65 million. So for me, I think Mount's position in the team cannot be, and for the thing is, Eric Ten Hag right now cannot afford to play players, because he's trying to justify a signing he made, because his job is on the line. Where he is now, every decision he makes is scrutinized, from substituting Comaino against Nottingham Forest to the substitution he made of Rasmus Højlund. Every decision he makes is scrutinized. So for me, Mount and his position in the team is as good as not there. Mount is just there now to try and manage, but also even his confidence cannot be there. The pressure is too much. Mount is not loved by the supporters. People, the thing about United supporters, we are a bit, we have sympathy. We sympathize with players, and that's probably why we have struggled with so many players. And you see, I keep telling people that you tell a person's character by the club they support. If you look at how Manchester United sympathizes with players, you see players given crazy contracts for doing absolutely nothing, but they keep renewing them. Case in point was Anthony Martial. You see players make mistakes, but they are still forgiven. You see players like Phil Jones not giving us value for a long time, but they are still there and they're being paid. So Manchester United is like the fans of the club. We forget too fast, and we are too soft. We are not ruthless supporters. We have a lot of pity in us. So even Mount, there are fans out there actually who will feel bad me talking the facts about Mount right now. Me saying that, you see, Mount is not good enough. It was a wrong signing. He shouldn't have been at United in the first place. La 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 la. There are fans out there who will go into the comment section and abuse me for that, because that is who we are as United supporters. We are sympathetic. We sympathize with people, but you see, that is why we will suffer. For as long as we do not separate professionalism and sentiment, we are not going to compete. We'll keep having players on huge contracts, earning a lot of money like Anthony. There are people up to now who still have some hope that Anthony can turn things around and become worth the 85 million we paid for him. And these are United supporters. With all the games this boy has played, so this is who we are as United supporters. But for Mount, for me, I don't think he has a position in the team. I don't think he has to have any position. With younger players like Diallo now coming and exciting us, it's going to be even difficult. Derek Sapong, Onana is the worst keeper United has ever had. So why don't we release him for the AFCON and let Bayindil keep our goal? And this is what I was saying. With Onana, his situation, I think, guys, sometimes we need to be. See, I'm not just a United supporter. My background is journalism. I just recently quit my journalism job. But here's the thing: in journalism, they tell us that you need to see the news behind the news. Most of you here are focused on Andre Onana and him saying he's not going to go for the AFCON, and rather he's not going to go now. He will play on the 14th, and on the 15th he's on the play. He's in Ivory Coast to play for Cameroon. First of all, it's unheard of in football for a person to play games back to back. Probably want to start the game for Cameroon. But if you read the news behind the news, for me, this points to something that we don't know. And with time will always tell. It points to one of two things. Either there is a problem, a big goalkeeping crisis at Manchester United. Remember, we've got Tom Heaton, who is, I think, almost 40, as the third choice goalkeeper. And Altel Bayindil, who we paid £4.3 million for. Now, either Bayindil is sick or injured, yeah, either, or Bayindil is just so bad, which I highly doubt. I'm seeing a video moving around of the haulers made by Bayindil, and people are trying to depict him as the worst goalkeeper alive. So it's either one of two things, or maybe Eric Ten Hag has advised Onana and told him, you know what, you can't afford to leave now, you will expose me. I insisted because of all signings, and you see, the Andre Onana situation is so tricky because of all wrong signings that Eric Ten Hag has made. The one signing that people felt bad about, that people were looking at, people were scrutinizing, people took personal, was that of Andre Onana, because many people were for David De Gea staying. Many people, even those who agreed that David De Gea made errors and mistakes in our goal, many people were saying David De Gea was mistreated. So the person who is going to replace him was always going to face it rough. You had to be so good to make it work. Now, Andre Onana has struggled to establish himself. Right now, he is proving with stats. Eric Ten Hag wants to give us stats every press conference. Onana himself wants to go into press conference and saying, I cannot be the best in Europe last year and I'm the worst now. But we are watching you. You are not good enough. We see you. You're playing every game since you joined. You're not good enough. We don't need to hear you say you're sure. And we know maybe there are reasons to that because the guys ahead of you have not been good enough and all. But you see, Andre Onana's problem is beyond him not being shielded by the people ahead of him. He's making basic goalkeeping mistakes. His body movement, I'm no goalkeeper, but I could tell that Andre Onana was making baby mistakes. The way he dives, his reflexes are delayed. The way he dives, you're going for a ball this way, but then you first go this way. Even Peter Schmeichel said the same thing. So Onana's situation is tricky, that perhaps he's even regretting coming out of his retirement. So Onana's situation is showing us a lot. Maybe there is a lot of news behind news that we don't know, that we need to focus on, but it can't be, because it's unheard of in football for someone to play a game today in the UK, in Manchester, and then the next day he's in camp. It's unprofessional even. It's a desperate move. Guys, Man United is in a desperate moment. It's either there is a big goalkeeping crisis, or Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come and said, I don't want to hear about this nonsense of the AFCON, and maybe they will tell us after that, you know what, Andre Onana is not going to the AFCON. But it is said they agreed that Man U spoke to Cameroon and they came to an agreement. Interesting situation. Derek Sapong is saying Onana is the worst goalkeeper United has ever had. But you see, the other goalkeepers I think had some better defenders ahead of them. Barthez was not so good when he was at United, but I mean he had Vidic and Rio Ferdinand ahead of him. But he was also not close to the anywhere close to the worst. Then we had Tim Howard. Tim Howard was a good goalkeeper. Man, United never gets it wrong with goalkeepers, but this is not a United goalkeeper. This is an Eric Ten Hag goalkeeper. David De Gea was a Manchester United goalkeeper. Andre Onana is Eric Ten Hag's goalkeeper. Guys, let's say the truth. Let us call a spade a spade. How many of you can say that Andre Onana is your goalkeeper? I don't think you can. But you could say Fabian Barthez was your goalkeeper, David De Gea was your goalkeeper, Edwin van der Sar was your goalkeeper. Those were United goalkeepers. Andre Onana is Eric Ten Hag's goalkeeper playing for Manchester United. I hope I even make sense with that. To find right saying, but why Ten Hag doesn't give a chance to the second goalkeeper? That's why I'm saying there could be something. Let's follow the news, guys. Keep glued. Subscribe. Turn on your notification. Become a member because I'm following this story for you. To the latter, I need to understand what is going on at Manchester United. There must be something we don't know. And trust me, you will quote me that I said it. Tomorrow, the next day, or the other day, we will get to know what exactly is going on. There is something not right. And you see the thing with United, it's not so difficult to leak information from United. Not difficult at all. So, Onana, we will know what exactly is going on with that goalkeeping department. Tash Pro saying, we love United, Ten Hag decision making is weird. I will tell you, I've said it here before, that all United supporters globally will watch a United game and see the same thing, but Eric Ten Hag will see something completely different. So either we don't know football, all of us, the fans, and we are not coaches. That's why he's the manager and we are not. But I mean, we cannot be 699 million people all seeing the same thing, but one person, because they say Man U has 700 million supporters. I'm assuming Eric Ten Hag is one of them. Now, 699 people see the same thing, that Kobe Maino was the one saving us from Nottingham Forest. But Eric Ten Hag saw it fitting that Scott McTominay was the one who was supposed to come in for Kobe at halftime. Guys, so I agree when Tufan Raj says, even if I'm not calling for the sacking of Ten Hag yet, I'm for backing him, and now that the full squad is back, we will judge him game by game, decision per decision. I think sometimes he has made it so difficult for us to come out here and go out here like sober people and back him. But unfortunately, we have to. Tash Pro says, we love United. Okay. He's also saying we need our boys, not new players. Let Greenwood come back together with Diallo, loan out Anthony and Sancho. Sir, exactly. So for Anthony should be sold. Just that there's no one who can buy Anthony right now. Who would buy Anthony? Even if it were you, I wouldn't buy him for my local club. I have like a football club, Web Sports. I don't think I would buy Anthony for my club, not for Nico. No, to be honest. Because, I mean, I can beat a defender faster than Anthony. I played football, I don't know when. I tried to play football as a child, and I was decent. And I was also left-footed by like Anthony, by the way. Left-footed. But my left foot was closer to Diallo's than it is to Anthony's. Anthony will struggle to beat one man. He will spend 5 minutes trying to beat off one man. So you can imagine how he slows down everyone and whatever they are doing. I think his teammates just frustrated. By the way, sometimes players look bad because they're playing with bad players. Do you know, if you played football, you remember, when you were playing football, I remember I used to play for a good academy. I used to play for an academy. I think it was the best academy in Entebbe where I was, Entebbe Young Academy. I think we had the first time I went there, there were like 200 young good footballers. And I'm like, I think I was in my primary 5 or thereabout. Like 200 young footballers, all from it. This academy was the best. We produced players who went on to win the Tivoli Cup, Gothia in China, in Germany. They won those junior tournaments. And these are players we played with. And I was playing with them. In fact, I kept playing a certain level at some point. I think they're under 12 or under 14. But what I realize is, if you're playing with very good players, you become good. If you're playing with bad players, you become bad. Now, some of our good players maybe became bad because every weekend they had to play with Scott McTominay and Anthony. Tell me, if you played football, would you be good if you're playing in a team with Scott McTominay and Anthony Dos Santos? Which good football would you play? You can't. So that's why I'm saying let us judge Erik ten Hag now with all his players back and fit. There will be no excuse. Then we shall proper come here and call for his head if he's making crazy decisions and all. But let's go back to the squad. So Manchester United, we're having all these players fit, and I've got about 10 minutes, guys, to leave this place. If you've got a question for me, I think I've summed up almost everything. Is there anything I haven't spoken about? I don't know. If there anything I didn't speak about, I think I've told you all news. I've told you all news. I've read all your messages so far. I think, responded to every question. For me, I think two things as I wrap this up in the final 10 minutes. Not even two things, about four things. One, Sir Jim Ratcliffe seems to be, if the reports we are getting from United are true, whereas Sir Jim Ratcliffe is right and he has got to work and deliver results, that's why he's here, I think he's moving too fast. This is my honest opinion. You cannot solve a decade-long problem in 2 weeks. I feel like the reports we are getting seem to point to that Manchester United is trying to solve a decade-long problem in months. This is Sir Jim Ratcliffe dancing to the tune of the supporters. The same supporters will disown him if he fails drastically. I would rather he first comes in, understand the problem at Manchester United, because the problems at Manchester United are deeply rooted. He needs to call Cristiano Ronaldo. I think the first person Sir Jim Ratcliffe should be calling before doing anything is Cristiano Ronaldo. Meet him on his island in Madeira, wherever, in Portugal. Cool breeze in the summer, not in the winter when it's cold. In the summer, go on your island, perhaps pay for a penthouse in one of his hotels on the island, the most expensive penthouse. Sit with Cristiano Ronaldo and listen to him, because Ronaldo will give Sir Jim Ratcliffe a proper expose of the rot, but also with his understanding of football and knowing how open Ronaldo is. He will not leave anything. Sir Jim will have a proper solution for Manchester United's problem. But I feel like this business of hiring Paul Mitchell, Dan Ashworth, two sporting directors, because right now what they are doing is to try to come up with a structure. Because the problem of United has been a structure, partly. A huge problem is the structure in which the Glazers have been doing things. That there was no structure, literally. Like, there's no leadership. You've got a manager. Each manager who comes in is signing their own players. Now, what structure is that? That each manager who comes in points at their own players they want. So players are playing for managers. So it's like these managers own the club. It's the identity of the manager. No, it's the identity of the club. Arsenal had to look until they landed on Mikel Arteta to maintain their identity with Edu. Man U has been playing the identity of the manager. I was listening to an interview where Tom Cleverley said when he was playing at Man U, when Louis van Gaal was there as manager, and he's the guy who let go of him. He said that Louis van Gaal would give them unit meetings before a game. On a match day, they're having unit meetings as a team. Unit meetings are goalkeepers and defenders. You sit in the corner, you discuss how you're going to play. Then he meets them, in isolation. Goes to midfielders, meet them alone, talk about how they are going to play. Then go to strikers. No wonder Man United's football was detached under Louis van Gaal. Yet we knew he was a good coach. So what would happen? The defenders, I think, would sit in their meeting and discuss that, you know what, guys, let us frustrate these strikers. They think they're important. They earn more money than all of us. So the defenders, the Daley Blins of this world, would pass the ball from day to night, from dusk till dawn. And until they remember that you had to pass the ball, then they will pass it to the midfielders. Even the midfielders would revenge. They would pass the ball because in their unit meeting they discussed. Then they take it to the forwards, and the forwards would be frustrated and tired, and then they would also just waste it and maybe pass it back to the goalkeeper. So you saw a proper detached, and this is exactly what Cleverly said. I watched this interview today. So that was the identity United had, the Louis Van Gaal identity when Van Gaal was manager. Jose Mourinho comes, and our identity was Jose Mourinho. Then we had Ralph Rangnick. I don't know what Rangnick was playing. I don't know what his identity was. Jaden pressing and what. Then we had, so Manchester United has got no identity. The identity is that of the manager in charge. Now that is a recipe for disaster. This club then becomes personalized. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got a big job to do in terms of getting an identity for the club and find a manager who will fit into that identity. For that to happen, he has got to go to the legends of this club. And for me, Cristiano Ronaldo, because he let the cat out. Cristiano Ronaldo was the first person to give us this expose of what is going on with this club. So for me, yes, his first day at Carrington was today, but I will not be excited about anything Sir Jim does for as long as he has not involved people like Cristiano. But also, I don't like the pace at which things are happening. He's going at the British pace. He's going at the British pace, the media pace in Britain. And for me, I don't think it will do United any favors. You don't solve a decade-long problem overnight. You don't. Derek Sapong, if Ten Hag is going to play this alien tactics that is not working, then we should sack him. The man is too stubborn. Look, Derek, and Ten Hag will be sacked if he has to. I think when the moment comes to sack Ten Hag, it's going to be the obvious thing to do. The reality is, whereas Eric Ten Hag has made wrong decisions tactically, it would be unfair, completely unfair to judge a manager who came in his first season and led this team to third place. The following season, he gets so many injuries. The club is full of so much mess. There is a lot of problems at the club. He's like the CEO, the negotiator, he's the manager, he's the tactician, he's the first team coach, he's the trainer. I think he was the gate man, the askari, he's the media manager. This guy was literally managing everything by himself. Let's give him some credit. I think Ten Hag deserves some bit of credit. I'm not going to sit here and defend him. I've called him out every day for the mistakes he makes. Even in my last video, I was calling him out for the tactical errors he makes. But you see, to err is human. Eric Ten Hag's mistakes and even Sir Alex Ferguson made tactical errors up to today. The one error that bites him up to today was him leaving out Jason Pang in the final we lost to Barcelona. Was it 2000 and what? The Champions League final we lost to Barcelona was 2000 and what? Remind me. 8? Remind me. I forget the year. So errors are human. And yet I think it was the obvious thing because he was our best player in the semi-final. But he left him out and Messi just took us for had a field day. And up to now he regrets. So Eric Ten Hag has his tactical errors, his weaknesses and all. But it will be unfair for us to judge him when most of his best players are injured. The reality is, we've been saying it here ourselves, the players have not been good enough. They were not. Even Ten Hag said it himself, and he said, you know what, guys, you want me to be consistent, but we do not have the quality to be consistent. But he said it himself, and that now that all these players are back, and the 14th of January, they will all be there. You judge him. Demand for results when all players are back. Guys, let us be patient. Derek Sapong, we won't lose a thing. Spurs is on the 14th. It's the only Premier League game we have this month. I don't care about Wigan and the FA Cup. Let's focus on Spurs and the games that will follow. We've got so many games to play until May. Let us judge him after that. Let us give him the time. It won't hurt. It's not too much to ask. But also, we don't want a new guy to come in and immediately sack the manager. You're not solving a problem. You need to work with Ten Hag, understand the problem, the situation, see what he's doing, his decisions, his man management. That's why I say we don't want to solve a decade-long problem overnight. We are then being like we are then becoming like who? Like the Glazers. We are then not changing a thing. We are then also becoming like the Glazers. We cannot fix a decade-long problem in 2 months. We cannot expect Sir Jim Ratcliffe to fix this decade-long problem in months. It's going to be difficult. And remember, he's not exactly independent. The Glazers are still there. So let's first give it. For me, I have got a lot of expectation for now, and because there is nothing to do, because this guy is a co-owner, it's not like he was hired. It's not like the Glazers went and subcontracted Sir Jim to come and manage football for them. He's a shareholder in this club, so he's not going to leave. So what we've got to do is back the guy. That's all we've got to do as supporters. You either back the guy or you find another club to support, which is easier. My name is Webb. Thank you so much. In case you're just joining us, I've got to wrap this up. We started at exactly 10. We are here every day at 10 p.m. I started with the jacket on, and it got hot because there was a lot of Man United news. I feel like I've left some news out, by the way. There is so much news I prepared for you about Manchester United. I think I've given it most of it to you, but the most important one is that Onana is not going to the AFCON yet. He will stay at Manchester United and play on the 14th against Spurs at Old Trafford, then go to Cameroon and play against Guinea on the 15th. Go to Ivory Coast to play for Cameroon. 2, the next story is Sir Jim was at Carrington today. He met Ten Hag and the players and the staff and all. So the work has begun for Sir Jim. Very soon, I think in less than 3 weeks, he's going to be confirmed. Then 3 is that Lisandro Martinez, and for me this is the best, Lisandro Martinez and Casemiro are back. Not that we didn't know, but they are finally back training with the team. So expect them probably against Wigan, but most importantly against Tottenham Hotspur on the 14th at Old Trafford. Number 3, Michael Olise is a player who apparently has been linked with Man U as the first signing for Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the summer, most likely. But his buyout clause would be no less than £60 million. And for me, that begs the question, and as I sign out, that who needs to spend £60 million on Olise when you own Mason Greenwood? Olise also plays as a winger. Who needs to do that? If it were you, would you sanction that move if you are Sir Jim Ratcliffe? What would you do? Would you rather first bring back Greenwood? Food for thought. My name is Webb. I'll catch you guys again later, tomorrow. Have a good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's a big G bless. Peace, love, and harmony. I think the moment he said we cannot play like the Ajax team, that was the moment we would have thought about sacking, because we all thought that we were going to play just like Ajax played. He said he didn't have the players to play like that. Derek, first, relax. I mean, there is time. There is time to sack Erik Ten Hag, but let us sack him honorably. Not even sacking. When that time comes, we should part ways. I think sacking would be harsh. He has not really failed drastically. He gave us a good first season, gave us hope, and then he's also cleaning this United. Guys, the ruthlessness needed at United. I mean, you're having young players earning 350. You're having Anthony earning £250,000 per week. That's a lot more than Erik Ten Hag. And you think you won't have an ego? You think this player is easy to manage? This guy is being ruthless. On Sancho, what? This mess was brought to him by the people who are negotiating deals for these players. So, I mean, let's give him some benefit of doubt, really. Let us give him time and wait for him to fail. But anyhow, thank you so much, guys. Let me not overstay my good. I don't want to overstay like the Glazers. You will be tired of me. Let me leave now when you're still there watching and wanting me, so that you come back tomorrow at 10 p.m. But I do remind you to subscribe to the United Hotspot. This is a growing community of Manchester United supporters. We come here and talk about United, both as fans, as a journalist. I will analyze, as a former footballer who did not make it to that level, but who thinks if I had focused, I think I would do better for United than Anthony. Bye, guys. I'm out.